This is Getting On With Life, Biblical Wisdom for Successful Christian Living. And this lesson is Deep Forgiveness. Forgiveness is one of those things people can do with varying levels of commitment. They can forgive in a superficial way, or maybe in a legalistic way, or only forgiving partially. Or they can forgive at a much deeper level. Since forgiving offenders is a foundational part of our Christian life, I want you to understand how to give deep forgiveness to offenders. I've covered forgiveness issues in various places, so check out my lessons on how to forgive and where forgiveness fits into the steps of release. Jesus taught we are to forgive. Jesus even warned us that if we don't forgive, we won't be forgiven. That puts forgiveness in a very important place in our lives. In Mark 11:26, Jesus said, "If you do not forgive others, neither will your Father in heaven forgive your trespasses." Forgiveness is not about us letting the other person off the hook to get away with blue murder, so to speak, but it is primarily about us doing the correct thing in our own heart. We will be offended and others will be at fault. However, our reaction to being wronged profoundly affects who we are and where we stand with God. If we take up offense, seek vengeance, and persist in holding bad will toward the offender, we have unforgiveness in heart. Unforgiveness is evil in God's sight. God's response is to hold from us the forgiveness we need from God. Some people don't treat things very seriously and are quick to forgive in a dismissive way. That's sure better than being resentful and spiteful. However, it may not be deep forgiveness. A wealthy person can be unconcerned about someone costing them $10. They quickly forgive the debt because pursuing the matter is not worth the time and energy needed. They seem to be very forgiving, but that's not a matter of their heart, but of convenience. If the same person were to lose everything and only have $10, then have that money lost because of irresponsible action by others, they may not be so forgiving. Forgiveness counts most when we feel the cost or pain of being wronged. Being able to dismiss the cost and pain does not necessarily mean there is deep forgiveness. True forgiveness operates when we feel wronged and have good reason to be annoyed, angry, resentful, accusing, and even condemning of those who offend us. We feel as if we hold an IOU from that person, obligating them to compensate us for what we have suffered. If they won't compensate us, we feel that God owes us something for what we have been through. Forgiveness is effectively taking the IOU and writing over it, "Paid in full," so the offender is released from all debt and obligation. I recall hearing from a man who in younger years needed mechanical help in a remote place. He didn't have all the money for the work, so he wrote a promissory note, saying he would pay next time he was through that way. He never did go that way again, and never paid what he owed. Years later, God challenged the man that he had effectively stolen from the mechanic. So the man made the trip to that out-of-the-way place to see if the workshop was still there. It was, and the man who served him years ago, now a very old man, still ran the place. The man confessed to his wrong and that God had convicted him to pay the debt. The old man found the handwritten notebook from that year and located the place where the promise to pay was recorded. There, already written across the promise to pay, were the words, "Paid in full." The guilty man protested that he had never paid the money. The man smiled and explained, "At the end of every year, I forgive all those who owe me. I've done it all my life. It stops me getting eaten up by ill will toward people." The offender still wanted to pay, but was assured there was no bill to pay anymore. The account was clean. Forgiveness is that act of declaring bills paid and the account clean. So what is deep forgiveness? That's when you take the huge promissory note of debts owed to you and you give it to Jesus. Despite the pain others caused you, you discharge all debts and make them the property of Jesus. You let Jesus forgive the debt with you. What is especially helpful is to recognize that any genuine wrongs against you, apart from those where you just took offense without genuine wrong being committed, has been recorded in God's books. God will hold that person accountable, even if you don't. When you can have such a heart to forgive that you ask God to erase his record of the person's wrongs against you because you are not pressing charges, then you have gone deep in your forgiveness. Friends, let the Holy Spirit remind you of those things you need to put right and those you need to forgive. Hand the offense to Jesus and join him in declaring the offense forgiven and the debt paid in full. Ask God to forgive the offenders and not judge them for what they did to you, and enjoy the release that comes with deep forgiveness. God bless you.